Hi, Mr. Tanna. Thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, to start it all off, what do you do?
I work at a company called Tonal. We sell like a really cool product that can be used at home in your home to work out. The product combines technology, AI, and strength training into one. So at Tonal, I lead the teams that make sure a customer's tonal trainer, that's what we call it, that's our strength training product, um, actually gets to your house and then gets installed as the equipment needs to be affixed to your wall. Works perfectly, and then you have a great experience after you start using it. Additionally, if after you start using it, if any product issues come up, we will ensure to get the customer's product sorted and functioning again so they can get back to working out. Um, I've been working for like over 20 years now. But yeah, my path wasn't really linear. I kind of started out doing various jobs, busboy, waiter. Then actually did a 16-month internship between my third and fourth year in college. And then after I graduated, I joined KPMG. Actually, I did something completely different. I got my chartered accountant's designation,
What is
and then
KPMG?
KPMG is it's a professional services firm. So they provide three professional services, which is accounting and audit
Okay.
uh,
So,
advice.
so finance.
Yeah, yes, and then like they also give tax, and so it's like a lot of consulting. And then what I eventually pivoted to, which was great to work at this type of a company, I went from the finance accounting side, and then I went over to their supply chain side, which is they do consulting, so they consult with different companies about supply chain. Um, and that's where I ended up in supply chain for the better part of my career. And then I focused specifically on logistics, which is what I do now and led me to Tonal. And logistics specifically is about getting sort of products from point A to B, from one place to the next, most in the most efficient and sound way possible.
And then like ironing out any kinks that the um customer might have. Right.
That's right. Yeah, and yeah, because there's always things that can go wrong. Like your packaging can get delayed for some reason or can get lost for some reason. And so always being able to know what's going on and then being able to make it right for the customer.
And you also mentioned that the tonal product itself, the tonal trainer, uses AI. So how is that like impacted by this whole AI boom recently?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think in a couple ways. So it's had native AI capability since the product was developed 10 years ago. So it was a bit ahead of its time in that regard. It used something called computer vision. It has a camera on it on on the device, and it would sort of watch you working out and then
Kind of
give
like
you
analyze your form and stuff?
yeah, analyze your form and give you feedback. And it also had some other AI built into it, like at the gym when you have a spotter, like you're doing bench press and someone comes and helps you just in case
It fails.
fails and you can't push the weight. Um, the machine uses technology to recognize if you're struggling and it will like slowly reduce weight, which is kind of cool. Um, but there's other ways now with the evolution of AI, and so it's moving into this concept of like knowing you and knowing where you're at, and then what you can do to continue to progress further, and it'll give you suggestions. Hey, you should try this workout or this movement type, and so it'll give you a bunch of advice. It's kind of like almost having like a personal
Okay.
trainer.
Yeah. Um, so you said that you started out in accounting, right?
Mhm.
So then
That's right.
how did you pick that? Like what made you pick accounting?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what made me choose accounting was I was definitely always a numbers person in school,
Hmm.
right? Good at mathematics. And then I figured that accounting would help me better understand businesses. So I studied business in school. And so I said to myself, okay, like I really enjoy understanding like how a company runs, how decisions are made, how do you get from idea to reality. But then, you need a strong financial backbone. So I said, okay, knowing that I want to understand like how all of the financial side of it works. And so that's what drove me to accounting and, combined with my like for numbers, I kind of put those two things together, and that's kind of what led me to um, do it in a professional capacity and get my chartered accountant's designation.
Nice. And then, so you got your degree in accounting, and was that like what type of degree was that? And like a master's or?
No, it's an undergraduate degree. So think of it. So I went to overall for school for business, right? So business administration, which is a very common undergraduate degree. And then I decided to specialize specifically in finance and accounting. So within taking all of these courses related to business, I had a specialty and took more courses that related to specifically finance and accounting. So those courses obviously taught you about the different aspects of accounting. And so I learned all that. Okay, cool. Um, does that get you from graduating with a business and accounting degree, does that get you to be able to practice, be a professional chartered accountant? It doesn't. So I did need to take additional courses for a year. Um, and then on top of that, when I worked for an accounting firm, I had to do something called articling, which was a combination of on-the-job experience, but then I also had to continue to do education. So I had to do education, learning, and go through a vigorous process of testing, where I had three different tests. The first one was 1 day, the second one was 2 days, and the third one was 3-day test.
Wow, that must have been a lot of content you must have had to study.
Oh yeah, it was. And it was cool though because like the content, so the first exam, it's different, right? So the first exam was about like the theory and knowing the theory, right? Kind of like you do in school a lot. Like, hey, I'm gonna read a bunch of stuff and then I'm gonna do a multiple choice question test, and it's gonna test how well I grasped what I read, right? Which is good and fine. But the real way to sort of test that is an application in the real world, and that's why it was helpful because it took those concepts, accounting concepts, and said, okay, I'm going to give you a situation that you would uh, encounter in the real world, and how would you actually apply what you learned to that situation?
Yeah, so it's basically saying, oh, sure, you know the content, but how would you apply this to like a real life situation? Like, say you're working at a firm and there's this client that comes in and you have to apply it to that situation.
Exactly, exactly, which was really helpful, right? Because it literally translated well to when I was doing it in a professional capacity. So
And so when you were working at the accounting services, accounting KPM or KPGM or KPMG?
KPMG, yeah.
KPMG. So when you were working at KPMG, was there like a lot of interaction with the clients or customers, or was it mainly you were just like kind of working behind the scenes, doing all the numbers, and then someone else kind of packaged all that up?
Yeah, good question, Devin. So it was a little bit of a combination of both. Um, I would say earlier in my career in accounting, I did more of the like number crunching and the filings and that type of work and writing notes and stuff, with some small interaction with the client. And what is the client, right? So the client is actually a company that you go, and what you do in auditing is they give you all of their transactions that they've made, and then you review them and say, okay, did you account for them in the way that is dictated by the rules,
Okay.
uh, accounting rules? And so that's a lot of what we would do, but we would interact with the customer to understand, okay, what's this and why did you do this? And so we would really want to test them to understand why they did things and make sure that then we can translate that back and say, does that meet the rules and standards?
Okay. Then you said you also had like some experience as in like the 16-month internship and being like a waiter or waiter yeah, waiter and then while being in school. So how did that really translate to your first job? Like was that difficult or was that like you already had some kind of people experience, especially from like those tests that you had?
Yeah, so actually I was a busboy first and then waiter in high school. And so that very much made me quickly realize some skills that were very useful in terms of time management because I had to, make sure I had my coursework and workload and be able to take that on, but then on top of it, juggle working.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of working. And, as a busboy, it's less direct interaction with the customers, but you do have some, right? You're in the front of the restaurant and with people, and so you have to make sure that, you're presentable, right? And what you're doing at all times is respectful to other people and pleasant, right? Have to have a smile on your face. And because, if I look grumpy, people are going to be scared and not want to come to the restaurant.
You can't have like a schmuck.
Yeah, exactly. You can't act like a schmuck. That's the best way to say it. Or like, what do you guys say? Skibbity or whatever you guys call it these days. No, but it taught me a lot of responsibility, time management, organizational skills. And then what I decided to do, and I really look back on it fondly as like probably something that help my career get off on a good footing was I did that internship, a 16-month internship between my third and fourth year. And it was a big sacrifice because I wouldn't graduate with all of my friends. Um, and I'd taken a year off school to work. And but it taught me so many important lessons and skills that when I came back for my fourth year, like I just approached it very differently because I could say like, okay, now I know the concepts that I'm learning, I know what it actually translates to in the context of a company in the real world. So it was really useful. It was 16 months. I got to do two different roles. I worked for a manufacturing company. They manufacture big routers, like that, like big, not like our small routers at your home, but like big ones that companies use.
Oh, for like maybe like in that like commercial buildings.
Yeah, for like commercial buildings, exactly. And so I got to work in their supply chain department, and I held two different roles. One is a buyer and planner, and then I did that for a year, and then I got to do 4 months as an inventory analyst. It was a very unique experience, and I'd highly recommend to anyone who has that opportunity or something similar to do the same.
So like all of like your classmates, they were like applying to jobs, but you already had like real life experience and application to show for it instead of just like knowing the knowledge and like, kind of not really knowing how to apply it like your classmates.
Absolutely. I didn't, when I was talking to, when I was looking for a full-time job after I graduated, I didn't have to like fake it till I make it because like, to some degree I knew what I was talking about because I had actually had a job at a company before, outside of like maybe being like doing the newspaper route or being a busboy or a waiter or waitress or bartender, like all those different types of odd jobs. I actually had something for a sustained period in a at a corporate company.
Okay, and then so how did you like network? So were you actually like directly involved in getting the clients or the companies as the clients, or was that more of like someone else's job? Or how did you build up a network of like friends in your company or ref
Yeah, um so I think I might answer this one differently if it's okay. So networking actually came in big handy when I was looking for a full-time job at one of these professional services firms. Because networking is actually very critical to the process of trying to get a job with one of those companies. There's four big ones, like the biggest ones in probably the world, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, and E&Y. And so you would go to these events that they would host with a ton of students, prospective students who are looking to get a job with them. And somehow you have to stand out
like set
and,
yourself apart?
yeah, differentiate. And this is where networking came in, and it became critically important because it wasn't just like, oh, like I'm going to hand out business cards, right? It's really about like, who am I? Being able to socially interact with people, gather information about the company because you want to know about the company as much as they want to know about you. Um, and then learn what's out there, meet different people, and figure out like, hey, is this a company that I'd want to work at? Or these people that I would want to work
It's
with?
like a good work culture.
Really good work culture, exactly. And it's interesting because like, yeah, these four companies, they're all very similar, but yet, like the more you ask questions and learn about them, like you do see they each have sort of their own personality. And then you're gonna say like, okay, I vibe best with this one, or I vibe best with that one. And then you hone in and then it's about, yeah, like how can I make these people see me and who I am and yeah, I mean, your goal is to try to get a job there. So that I think is like what networking is about. Like the thing I could say probably if I had to give like advice would be like just stay curious, ask questions, be yourself, authentic, and just be a good, like be kind, right? People see that. Right? People realize that if you're trying too hard, like people can recognize
You
that.
can like pick up on the little subtleties of your personality.
Yeah, exactly. So just be kind, be cool, be real, stay in touch with people, follow through, right? Like don't like it's some of the basics too are mannerisms, right? Don't be sitting there and if you're talking to someone, be like looking somewhere else at like, okay, who am I going to talk to next, right?
Yeah.
Engage with that person, finish the conversation, and then you can figure out like, well, who am I going to talk to next? So
So would you say that those soft skills that you learned from like being a waiter and the busboy kind of helped you in those kind of one-on-one conversations with potential employers?
Absolutely, it did. It because I knew how to interact with people and I had a lot of practice with it. Because it's not networking is not easy. You have to be intentional. It can be exhausting, and so the more you have, it's like it's building a muscle at the end of the day, right? And so the more you do it, the more stronger your muscle is, and the more fluent and I don't want to say natural because I don't know if it's ever natural, but like it does become a little bit more organic.
Yeah, more
Um,
fluid.
yeah, and then when you're doing it, then you don't have to always be thinking in your head about like what am I going to say next or what is you know what I mean? You'll come more naturally, so you don't have to spend that brain space doing that versus like being engaged and present.
Okay, yeah. And so kind of going back to that like advice, like what would some of like advice that you would give to like say how to network as like someone who's like trying to get a full-time job and trying to set themselves apart? Because you said like networking was very important. So like what are some advice that you would give to like build up a network to set yourself
Yeah.
apart?
Um, I mean, I think every person you meet to some degree is an opportunity to network and an opportunity that can come, even if it's not here and now, it could maybe be useful in the future. Um, a network is just a collection of people that you can lean on for various reasons to ask questions, for guidance, to maybe one day be your coach or mentor, or specifically in the professional setting, right? They might be working at a company that when you're looking for a job, you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. I might want to work there one day. Or you see a job posting and somebody from your network actually works at that company. I mean, still to this day, even with all the AI and all the things, I read a stat recently actually. I think it was like 60 to 70% of jobs, the jobs that people get actually come from a network. So somebody you've known, and by the way, like a network doesn't have to be like your best friend, a family member, right? Like it doesn't have to be that. It could be someone you just met and they remember you're a good person, you were kind to me, you ask questions, right? And then they pay it forward. People want to help. People want to help. And so just stay out there, get your name out there, meet people, meet more people, right? I think that's important. Be resourceful. You can network in person, but you can also network online, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Reach out to people online. Sometimes they won't answer you, sometimes they will. But hey, all you can do is try, right?
Yeah.
Um, so just networking can mean different things. It doesn't always have to be about hey, intentionally doing it. You could just meet a lot of people throughout your life that could come back and one day serve a purpose for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally. That sounds like great advice. I'm definitely gonna use that later. And then, so last question. What are some
Yeah.
like impactful habits that you've picked up on like in the workforce from like all the way back to your high school, to your
Yeah.
college, to your internships, to even to now as you're in your current role? What was like some impactful habits that maybe you would tell your younger self to do or change about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's I don't know, it's interesting. I think of this in like and I was lecturing my son on this actually one day, but things that people that you're in control of and people can't take from you, I think are important.
Like
So
positivity,
yeah, I think of it like so I think I would say probably three things for me. So one is a discipline and strong work ethic because those are everlasting, right? If you have a strong discipline and work ethic, you show up every day, build good habits. It helps to drive consistency. It helps to like help you make progress on a consistent basis, do small things right that add up into big things, big wins in the long run. I think that's really if like that is my number one that I would say for me that I exemplify on a daily basis and serves me really well is discipline and strong work ethic. The other one I would say is, couple that with like a mindset. So people sometimes say a growth mindset. I personally think of it being in supply chain and operations as a continuous improvement mindset. I'm always thinking about like how can I make this thing better?
the
This
next step.
yeah, what's the next step we take? Like, how do we go from where we are today to where like we could be, and after that could be after that, right? And it just helps drive progress and results in like a way that you will get noticed, right? A business's goal is to create value, make profits. How do you do that, right? You continually improve by contributing to in one way or another to the core objective of a business. Um, and then the last thing I'll just say that I specifically have found really, really helpful for me is project management skills. And so what is that, right? And project management, there's a lot of things that it could be. But if I had to distill it down, like again, and I think I talked about this a little earlier, organization is important. Writing things down, right? Like make sure you write things down all the time.
Things so things don't like slip through the cracks.
Flip through the cracks, reminders, like hey, like task lists, like that stuff all helps you stay organized, prioritize like what is the most important, what do I need to get done first and second and third, which is then kind of into my next point about building a plan. right? Building a plan makes you think about that, right? What's first, what's second, what's next. And then you have that plan laid out, and then it's about like, okay, now execute that plan. And then follow up and follow through. Those are like I found no matter where you're at in your career, you can always use that, whether you're, just starting your career, whether in your the midst of your careers or later stages, you're senior, you're a leader. Doesn't matter if you're a vice president, executive. See, everybody needs to have project management skills, no matter what stage you're at in your career.
So like consistency is key. Um, the second one was like never kind of be satisfied with what you have. Like always like not that kind of sounds pessimistic, but like always be striving for better and like how to better yourself and like your work and always just be organized and have an agenda.
And have an agenda because like at the end of the day that will help you achieve like your goal of always wanting to be better because it's nice to have ideas and like oh I think we should do this or that the other but if you don't know how to actually do it
Execute.
execute it then it's just an idea, right? And you hear that a lot in entrepreneurship, like ideas are ideas, but if you can't take that idea to fruition then
It's good as
uh,
nothing.
it's nothing. So
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tana. I really appreciate your time.
yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it was so easy to talk to you and it was so like natural and hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, bye.